I work for the School of Sustainable Futures, Learning Projects Manager, and under that amorphous title comes quality and business rules implementation as one of those responsibilities. And I work with Amanda McGarrell, and we have been rolling out some audits across all of the teaching departments, and randomly selecting some units and looking at all of the roles attached to those courses and units across the teaching departments.
Right. And you've produced some fairly impressive graphs you've taken data and produced quite a lot of graphs from that.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about what you were doing there.
Well, it's anecdotally, and through looking at attendance registers as a general audit of making sure they were there and filled in, you get a sense that there are pockets within teaching departments where the completion of roles is inconsistent, or there are errors or areas of misunderstanding. And bearing in mind the new business rules and also the larger focus on IME audits, we wanted to have a look at how we were performing actually across the school and identify where there were areas that people didn't understand what they were supposed to do, where there was inconsistencies or just old practice or simply no practice where people were just leaving things undone. So you know that there are some variations of practice, but we really wanted to actually identify and quantify where those pockets of inconsistency existed, so that we could then address them and see how broadly spread they were and how common or uncommon the mistakes were. So we had a checklist set up and asked the teachers to bring all of the roles, Web CT printouts, unit outlines, list plans, basically the IME audit stuff, and as well as the results. And we did little mini operational audits about so that if we were presented for IME audit, that we would be able to establish the evidence requirements. We also wanted to have a look at how pastoral care was being managed, so that people were being followed up after the 2 weeks, and that there were records appropriately made or referrals appropriately made, and then have a look at how people were understanding the resulting processes. So it was pretty broad scope, and what it revealed was where people were, we were looking at it as a deficit model. We were noticing the errors and inconsistency. So it showed us where there were real gaps in people's understanding of what they were supposed to do, either through error or just omission.
Okay. Now, you've ended up with nice graphs.
Mm-hmm.
In between was Excel.
Yep. But
before that, it didn't come to you in Excel format. You had to gather that data from the normal forms and feedback forms that...
Yeah, it was a professional conversation. Amanda and I met with the teachers and senior educators in most cases, because it was all of the teaching across that course, and went through the professional conversation about how it was done in how this teacher was conducting their roles and managing their students. And that was recorded on a little sheet that we've since improved on, so that we had consistency and were able to have some standardisation across the information we were collecting, and therefore be able to produce those spreadsheets that came up with to show us where those spikes of errors occurred.
Okay. Now, did the graphs show you something that you didn't see in the data in the other formats?
I think graphs always make things easier to see. They show you visually, present you visually where there are, and it does make it a lot easier to make decisions based on graphical data, because I can look at a spreadsheet and it's like detail over a budget case. So I like to see things visually, and I think most people can more readily take in something visually if it's presented graphically and say, oh, there's your problem. So when you've got a nice big tall column that shows that 78 people got this one wrong and 23 people got that one wrong, it's very easy to make decisions about where you want to target your PD first. Okay. So, and that was the purpose of it. So we wanted to identify where people were not knowing. We could address that by some PD that's targeted at the high spikes, and then look at the lower spikes as we go along.
I suppose, what skills did you and your team have that made that possible to do it?
Perseverance from Amanda's point of view. She was very, very organised. So Amanda actually drafted up the questions based on a couple of other. We merged a couple of other checklists and came up with the one checklist based on the business rules, and then we worked through, and so her ability to organise data, and then I came in with knowledge of the quality requirements. So the two of us worked together and came up with those, and being able to identify where improvements could occur.
And what would you like to do next? Some of this sort of data.
Oh, we want to. Amanda's already started working on a best practice for the front cover of the register, and what we will do is to. I'll then use those examples and create some gins that we can put up on the school website, so it's easy for people to answer that question, and once again see visually and readily what information they should put into the boxes, which you can see from this graphical detail, but when you've got a voiceover you can actually explain why they're doing it and what that means, and where to go for further help. And so they can just listen to the information rather than read through swags of text in a fact sheet or a business rules folder. All of our staff have a business rule folder with all the fact sheets in it, but clearly from 78 out of 100 people making the same mistake, clearly they're not reading it. So perhaps if we told them and whisper in their ear gently and give them a little picture, they might do it.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.